How's it going, everyone? Let me turn the audio off there for you. Got some work done on the layout today. This week, this month, for a while now, I've been working on the layout. Not as hard as I would like to have, but I got a brand new baby in the house, so like he's been like really selfish with his time. Honestly, he's not been letting me do the amount of work on the layout I've been wanting to do. But that said, yes, got some work done on the layout. I have got my staging track laid, all the track laid on my staging track at this point. I'm estimating I've got about 75 feet of track laid across three tracks, which is pretty great. It beats my previous record by a full 60 feet of staging track. So I've got a lot of room in my staging for trains, which is awesome. So it inspired me to pull my collection out of the boxes and set up and just see how much space do I actually have here. How much more, how many more cars can I stick in my staging yard than what I've got now. I'm pretty good on cars now. I can probably fit another 20-ish cars on my layout, maybe 30 cars, so I wanted to really push it. And then it would be considered full at that time, which is really pretty good. I think that's a good number of cars to have on a layout. I think. Yeah. So staging yard is almost done. I've got to drop some more feeders down, just to make sure that the connectivity is really great. I need to wire up my tortoise switch machines so that I can operate them with this guy right here. And at that point, staging will be done, and I'll be ready to move on with the layout. Some other cool things this past couple of months while I've been gone. First of all, the February issue of Railfan and Railroad has the Ponderay Valley Railroad on its cover. This, if you are familiar with my railroad, is the real short line that I'm making a freelanced version of. And this was awesome to see. I'm seeing pictures from the railroad I've never seen, from angles I've never seen before. I'm getting an idea of the history behind how this railroad came to be, modern day-to-day operations of the railroad as well. I'm getting a really good insight as to how this thing actually operates in real life, so that when I do my operating sessions, it feels realistic. Turns out a lot of my assumptions were correct, which is great. There's a few things that I thought, there's a few things that were surprises to me, and it's sort of caused me to like kind of reevaluate, like, oh, what am I doing on my road? Is what I'm doing right? And then after some thinking about it, I'm like, yeah, you know what, I did it correct. So very cool there. This is a kind of a fun tip. I started using one of these guys. This is just like a little like number counter thing I got on Amazon for like $6. But what it does is, like, every time I come down here to work on the railroad this year, I press this little thing on top. So I'm making a video for you guys, so I press this little thing on top. And I can do it once per day. I can do it several times per day. It doesn't matter if I do a 15-minute work session or a 2-hour work session. If I'm down here for any length of time, press that button once. And this kind of just keeps track of like how many times I've been working on the layout this year. So far this year, 29 work sessions this year so far, here at the beginning of March. I'd like to get up over 200 by the end of the year. We'll see how my little baby, I'm looking at him on the monitor right now. It looks like he's asleep, so I think we're good. We'll see how much my little baby lets me work on my railroad this year. But I thought this was kind of a fun pickup, and honestly, it encourages me to want to come down here and work. I want to see this number go higher. It's a weird thing, but it really works for me. Let's see. So at this point, yes, I got to get the staging yard wired up. The next thing I want to do also is I want to complete a full loop of track on my layout so I can kind of start to get trains running, which means I have got to start working on laying track across my swing gate near the front entrance. I've learned some things about laying track across swing gates that I'd like to share with you today, so let's go over and take a look at that right now. Now I'm at the point where I'm going to start laying track across this swing gate here. And one thing I wanted to do was I wanted to avoid issues where swing gate's open, I don't know it, my wife walks in, she doesn't know I'm running trains or something. my kids open the swing gate, and trains fall to the ground. How do we fix this? How do we keep this from happening? Obviously, we want to shut power off of the track as the swing gate is open. When the swing gate's open, power gets shut off the track. Makes sense. And you want to shut the power off a good amount of distance before the swing gate itself. So if you got some momentum built up, you got locomotives with capacitors built into them. They're going to have a couple of seconds of run time. You don't want to find yourself in a situation where it just sort of launches off the end. So how do I do that? How do I cut off power to both ends of the swing gate when the gate is open? I've seen some people do some kind of tricky things with this, where they've got like wires, sort of like connections, sort of like they make when the gate is closed, they make contact. It's really cool and slick. I'm not like an electrical engineer, and so that seemed a little complicated for me to like engineer how to make that work in a way that worked well. Another issue that I have is I've got two power blocks here. I've got my backtrack being my my BNSF main line, and my front track being my MFR main line. And so I'm just having to run more wiring just to make all that work. So the solution I ended up coming up with was this guy right here. This is just like a RCA female to female like wall mount that you would use for audio equipment. So that can mount right here, right below the track. And when my gate is closed, I have these guys right here, RCA male to male or male ended cables already sort of run for you. That would just plug in right into the box I got. And so I'm running trains. I close this thing up. I plug those two in, one for each main line, and all the power gets run through here. It's going to loop up and over the doorway and back around, so it also powers kind of like this side of the swing gate as well. And when you open it, you're not going to be able to open it very far before these things, sort of get caught on that. So it's going to remind the person, oh, hey, he's running trains in here. Let me close it back up again. And, if they do open it, they've got to pull the plugs, and which nobody really will do. By pulling the plugs, it shuts the power down to the track. We're good to go. So I think this is a pretty good solution. It's not the most elegant of solutions, but I think it solves the problem of somebody just being able to swing the gate open and power continuing all the way, through here, and trains running off the end. Especially since I've got hidden staging starting right here. You may not even see a train coming to know that I've got to keep this gate closed. So it's just a little extra safety feature. When I run trains, it's not hard for me to come in here, shut the gate, plug it in, knowing that that's good to go. So for myself, I think it works. Let's see. From this point now, I've got to actually lay the track across the swing gate, which means I got to lay across the gaps and then cut those gaps and make sure that the rails align every single time. I did that on the previous swing gate that we've taken a look at before. I've had some issues with it. I've made some mistakes, some really stupid boneheaded mistakes when I laid that track. But I've learned from that. And so I know to do better on this guy, which actually has to be more precise because of how thin things are, and how often that it would actually be getting used as yard leads and entering, exiting, staging, that kind of thing. So we'll take a look at the mistakes I made on the other swing gate, and we'll talk about how we're going to fix them whenever I go to lay track on this swing gate. Okay, I've gone into handheld mode to show you guys what I've done here on my swing gate. You can see I've got two tracks running across this side, two tracks over on that side as well. Major things that I did, I think I did well. I've got PC board laying across the track here, kind of securing the rails right along here. And that does help kind of keep the rails aligned nicely. They look a little ugly right now, but I think once we spray them with the rail brown color, they'll remain a little more hidden than they are right now. I mean, they're never gonna go away completely for sure, but I think anyone that would see it would forgive them, knowing that what their purpose is for. So yeah, that keeps it remaining nice and straight, kind of left and right. The PC board is a little thinner than the ties themselves, and so I've had to prop them up with little strips of toothpick. Actually, is what I use underneath there, and so they're little. They ended up, when I nailed them down the first time, they kind of bent down because I didn't realize how much lower they were, and so it's hard to see on this one. You might actually see a little bit better. Let me take you all the way over here. You can see sort of the dip, and it's a little hard to tell, but there's a little dip right here. That's an issue because trains are sort of coming uncoupled from each other, going over that dip. So the dip is a bit of an issue, but what's actually a bigger issue is I thought I was being clever, and I went ahead and I cut this rail at a bit of an angle, and that angle follows the angle of the swing gate itself. So you can kind of see right here, so we can get it to focus. There's quite a bit of an angle there, and I thought I was being clever. I thought it would minimize the gap. Actually, it makes the gap quite a bit larger. You can see it's quite a bit of a gap right there. Now, the gap itself isn't really the issue. The cars roll over that just fine. But what happens is you got this rail cut in an angle, and so just like on a switch, when a flange wants to pick that switch point, same thing happens on these angles, and so they'll pick the angle, and the truck will come off the rails. And it happens about, honestly, like it happens every single time to one car. One car will be the car that picks that flange, especially if you've got a small car that's being towed along by a longer car, like a 73-foot center beam. These, let me see if I can go over here and show you guys over here. These sort of like angled cuts are they were not a good idea. So when I'm laying the track next time around, I'm actually going to use styrene below the PC board just to prop that up so we don't get the dip, and I am going to keep the cut perpendicular to the direction of the track itself as opposed to these angles. And those two things combined, I think, will probably solve 99% of my problems. I may need to add guide rails as well, just as a little bit of an extra protection. We'll see when we get there. But yeah, that's what I've learned on this swing gate, and I will apply what I've learned to my next swing gate. One issue I did run into was with the cab control system. When I did the video that I posted last time of the unboxing of the SD40-2, I put it on the track and got it running, and as I'm running it around the layout, I'm having a ton of dropouts. So the whole system kind of shuts down. I get a warning that says it's lost connection with the system. And the bars on my Wi-Fi, this is a Wi-Fi linked throttle, so it links to the base via Wi-Fi. Getting like 2 bars, standing, from here to here, like, an arm's reach away, 2 bars. And I freaked out. I was like, oh my gosh, this whole system is breaking. Like, what's going on here? Like, I can't be doing this. I can't have a model railroad that I can't even run, and I'm looking online and everyone else is having the same problems. I panicked a little bit, I must say. I was like, this throttle is not going to work for me. I got to go. Of course, I've got to get the proto throttle, right? Of course, you got to get the proto throttle. If it's not working, go with proto throttle. So I ended up selling off a whole bunch of stuff from a different hobby that I was messing around with on eBay, and I got a ton of money. And cooler heads prevailed. Maybe I slept on it a little bit, and I was like, all right, you know what? Before I go getting a proto throttle, let me see if I can diagnose what's going on with my system and see if I can fix it so I can run these throttles. Because really, before I get a proto throttle, I gotta learn more about DCC. Because all I've done at this point is basically default factory settings on all of my locomotives. I need to learn how to, what DCC is and how to program it and all that other stuff before I go messing with a proto throttle. So, long story short, did not buy the proto throttle. Instead, what I bought was a wireless router. So, like a tenth of the price of the, is that right? Much, much cheaper than what it would have cost to get a whole proto throttle. I got a wireless router. And that boosted my signal strength quite a bit. Turns out actually what the real problem was this guy right here. Baby monitor. I've got a baby monitor upstairs, and with the base station overriding the signal from my mono railroad. So adding the wireless router boosts the signal strength. I don't get the dropouts anymore. Turning off the baby monitor also definitely helps out quite a bit as well. So I panicked a little bit, but it's an easy fix. With the ECU cab control system, fixing dropouts is really easy. Just get a router. This isn't connected to the internet. I've seen people use Wi-Fi boosters as well. I went with the router approach just because I felt like the signal strength would probably be better, and this allows me to, like, I can hook, I can, if I wanted to run throttles on my phones, hook it through the router. JMRI goes through the router. Anything else that I might want to expand upon with the railroad in the future, having that router there is going to make it very cool. So, I mean, if you have a cab control system, you probably would want a router anyway. And so this helps. So, long story short, I sold a ton of stuff that I probably didn't need to, but I probably should have. And I got a ton of money that I'm going to invest into this layout. I've already purchased some cool stuff. If you follow me on Instagram, you'll be seeing that stuff coming out here in the very near future. But I'll be able to use that money to upgrade the lighting in this room because it is, as I said before, god-awful. And I'll be able to, finish out some of the other electrical work and things that I need to do so that I can kind of continue on with the process of building this mono railroad. That was a long meandering story, and I'm starting to ramble, so I'm going to go ahead and end this video now. Thank you for stopping by for this layout update. Not the funnest layout update in the world, but I've made progress, and that's the important thing. So anyways, thanks again for stopping by. Check out my Instagram. You'll see some of the cool stuff that I've been purchasing in the last few weeks up there as well. I'm going to get some videos up there that are kind of exclusive Instagram stuff here in the near future. Check out my blog as well. I'm going to try to post some more stuff on that blog just for my personal sake and for yours as well, I guess. That's it for now. Thanks again, everyone. I'll see you guys in another video.